Hi there, Skullheads. My name is Snags.
And I'm Old Silky.
This is episode number 100, which is a big deal for all 12 of our fans.
Cheers, man.
Yeah,
May
man.
15th,
2025.
2025. 100 episodes about shit you should already know about, or stuff you need to be fast memorizing and getting into your lives.
100 episodes of us kicking the knowledge, talking about the shit that you can't learn in college.
Look at
So
that,
there you have it.
rhymes.
And
Rhymes with the times.
And it's slightly ripped off from a Beasties song, although their lyrics are a bit different. All right,
Yeah.
so let's see here. So we got to pick back up with Ronnie Wood joining the band.
Now Ronnie Wood was the bass player on Truth and Beckology, Jeff Beck group, and then he was in all four Faces albums.
He plays some killer slide guitar on those Faces albums too.
Yeah, and then did session played on those Rod Stewart albums that were like every other album was either Faces or Rod Stewart.
And they were basically Faces albums. I mean, the Faces were backup Rod Stewart.
Yeah. It was the whole band, but Stewart kept the better songs, the radio friendly for his solo stuff. But it was one big party. They didn't care. They didn't. It was Faces albums or a Rod Stewart album. They're touring. They're making money, which is kind of how it should have been.
There's a great book about the Replacements, who are basically the '80s, very inspired by the Faces in a lot of ways, but about them going to see the Faces, when they were younger before they started the Replacements. The Facements, that'd be a great name for a band, the Facements. The Faces had a bar on stage, like party. No they had a drum kit. They had amps, bass amp, guitar amp, drum kit, bar. So, in between songs, they'd be walking over and mixing a gin and tonic or.
Do they have a bartender?
I don't know about that, but there was a bar on the stage.
I did not know that. That's awesome. But so with Ronnie Wood, if you look at where he's coming from, all these slide guitar, although great bass player on those first two Jeff Beck group records, and then in the Faces, like you said, all that slide guitar stuff. So the Faces break up. Ronnie Wood does his solo album, Got My Own Album to Do. Now he'd already
fucking great. Is that the one with Am I
Grooving You? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a killer tune.
Keith guests on that. Keith Richards is on that solo album, and Ron Wood, had already kind of influenced the Stones in "It's Only Rock and Roll." So
he co-wrote it with this, and they didn't give him credit for it.
Yeah. So when Mick Taylor leaves, and Ronnie Wood is like, yeah, I'll be in the band, So he joins briefly in 75 and then is like a permanent fixture by 76.
They apparently asked Jeff Beck to join, and he said his explanation why he didn't join was because he wanted to live.
Right.
He's afraid he was going to OD on drugs if he joined.
I mean, look what happened to Bobby Keys. Bobby Keys had a damn heart attack trying to keep up with everything. But so when Black and Blue came out from a blues standpoint, and following like the Faces, you would think, oh hell yeah, they're gonna get back to a slide guitar kind of Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers kind of vibe, but they don't. I feel like Black and Blue is like a very reggae beach record where you're just
it's exactly
bleached out by the sun. You've had too much to drink. You're tired. It's just that kind of mellow record. But I remember people being disappointed when I was a little kid because Ronnie Wood wasn't, bringing that slide. A similar thought is when Dave Navarro joined
Chili Peppers.
The Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And you thought, oh, here we go. And there was really no Dave Navarro magic.
Yeah, that didn't quite, that fusion didn't really work. Chili Peppers were on their way to Sucktown, and they weren't going to let Dave Navarro interfere.
Oh, they were fast approaching Sucktown.
Yeah.
But so Black and Blue there's certain records that I feel like don't quite have the hit that being a fan of like the deep cut record, Led Zeppelin's Presence, Aerosmith's Draw the Line album. I love those kinds of records where they don't initially jump out. We've talked about this, and we'll probably mention it a few times in this episode, the riding the wave concept. And Black and Blue is like Ronnie Wood's first record with them. And I love that record. I really dig that record.
I think it's fucking great. Yeah, it's a basically you're hungover from the day before, the sun's out, you're just kind of hanging out with the breeze is blowing, and it's the two words that you used to describe it, reggae beach record, was exactly how I was going to describe it. I was going to use those two words because this just sounds like it was recorded on a beach, heavily reggae influenced. And
even the artwork is them. If you look at the cover, Keith's whispering in Mick's ear, like, "Dude, we gotta get out of here." Bill Wyman is, looking like a Dracula cape, looking in between them, and you can see the ocean behind him.
Yeah. I mean, Hot Stuff, Hand of Fate, Cherry O Baby, Memory Motel, Hey Negrita, Melody, Full to Cry. Crazy Mama is my favorite track. That track fucking rocks.
Crazy Mama and Hot Stuff are just...
Yeah, Hot Stuff's Hot Stuff's another funk track.
It's good to just yell. To yell that in the car. And
I just love it.
Hand of Fate's a great...
Yeah, Crazy Mama, though. If you don't believe I will do it, just wait for the thud of the bullet.
Great
Crazy shit. Mama with your ball and chain.
Billy Preston was touring around with them. They did the Exile on Main Street, Ladies and Gentlemen, the Rolling Stones had come out. They had Stevie Wonder opening for them. I believe somewhere in here they actually had Bob Marley open for them. If I'm not mistaken. But Black and Blue, 8 songs. Full to Cry, I think, was a huge single off of this. But Memory Motel and Melody, just a jamming record.
It goes from funky to kind of mellow, but not sappy mellow, like Hammond organ kind of mellow, and then into just fucking rocking with Crazy Mama. It really ends strong.
And by this point, like Black and Blue era, all of your 60s bands had faded. Anybody from a 60s band, if they were either dead or had gone solo and were not quite as big, Elvis was still going strong by 76. But the Stones were like their own, like they just weren't. I mean, you had the Kinks and the Who, I think.
They kept going. Yeah,
I mean, Deep Purple.
Deep Purple was new though. Like from the classic '60s era, you had the Kinks, the Stones, and the Who. The Beatles were gone, the Animals were gone, Yardbirds were gone.
Yeah, I mean the Animals were floundering. It's Eric Burden and the Animals, and but certainly to know not the level that the Stones were doing things. I feel like by 76, the Beatles might have done something in the next 5 to 10 years.
If it weren't for Yoko, I think we would have had another 5 Beatles albums probably.
Yeah, I think by 76 they might have gotten around to it. By 76, Lennon had gone into seclusion to basically spend the first 5 years with Sean, and but that's Black and Blue. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add about.
Well, yeah, they had the famous Billboard, their PR campaign. Yeah. Where it was a beat up woman tied to a chair on a billboard.
And they played it on a flatbed, which AC/DC had done as well.
But they pissed off a lot of people. They put up this big billboard on Sunset Strip, Rolling Stones, Black and Blue out now, and instead of the album cover, it's a beat up woman tied to a chair.
Yeah, yeah, that's. Kind of sniff the glove kind of stuff.
That's the Stones intentionally trying to, get people all flustered and pissed off.
And true to their beginnings all the way back, the Beatles would write these love songs, and the Stones would write these anti-love songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that stupid girl. Under my thumb.
Crazy Mama.
Crazy Mama. I mean, they just got better and better. The one thing I want to mention, in 77, basically the Stones toured the U.S. in the summer of 75 and 76. They did a nightclub concert in Toronto in 77, and they put out Love You Live, which kind of picks and chooses from those 2 years, 75, 76. But they recently, in the last year or two, released Live at El Macambo from 76. And that is more of a complete set list. And I would say anyone, if you got all these Stones records, and everybody bought Love You Live. It was like the first live album they'd done since Get Your Ya-Ya's, and they're doing more. They did Hot Stuff from Black and Blue on there. Fingerprint File, great version of that. And just an overall kind of run of their 60s stuff is on that Love You Live. But if you check out Live at El Macambo, it's a much better representation of what they were playing on that tour, and a lot of fun to check that one out. And that's fairly new. I believe came out last year. Cool. But from 77 is really good. Highly recommend it.
So we want to move on to Some Girls?
Yeah, sure. Some Girls, I think, was another zenith, another moment of just white hot, just in the pocket. They are so I remember being 8, 9 years old and asking my dad if Some Girls was a greatest hits album.
It's notable to mention
that fucking good.
It's notable to mention that It's Only Rock and Roll, Black and Blue, Some Girls, all these albums so far, since It's Only Rock and Roll, are produced by Mick and Keith under the name The Glimmer Twins.
Yeah.
So this is a solid fucking album. Like anybody
they had Chris Kimsey, the engineer, and in thinking of Don Landy with
Van Halen,
Ted Templeman. I feel like your engineer, if you've got a good engineer and a good producer, I don't know that Keith and Mick are great producers, but I would say they know what they want.
Yeah, I mean but they're officially credited with producing this. So
yeah.
The thing about this album, like, they had just come off this incredible string of albums, and even Goat's Head Soup and It's Only Rock and Roll, you still got Mick Taylor wailing away in there, and then they put out this just really mellow, we're hungover hanging out on the beach, hey, let's record an album while we're hungover hanging out on the beach. A lot of people were really disappointed with Black and Blue, and I think this stepped it up a notch in a lot of people's eyes, like, oh, this is a solid fucking album. And the songwriting was really solid. You got a lot of variety in the genres. You got your country song, you got your punk inspired song, you got your I'd say funk song with Miss You, but to be honest, there's a little bit of a disco inspiration going on there too.
Oh, totally. They were doing Studio 54.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
But Some Girls, just from start to finish, it's just ridiculous how well, and in keeping with the controversy of like Black and Blue, the album cover, they used another album cover with Lucille Ball on it. There's 3 album covers that I can think of that have Lucille Ball: Sgt. Pepper, Zeppelin 2, and Some Girls.
She was a hip chick, man. Everybody had to put her on the eye. Fucking Lucille Ball. Come on.
It's just funny though that she appears and you're like, oh my God, is that Lucille Ball? But they when the CD finally released, they changed the album cover because legal, use of some of these people's face likenesses, had just created more controversy. And then, of course, Some Girls, where the line, black girls just want to get fucked all night. That was a big deal. I remember Garrett Morris on Saturday Night Live on the news bit, saying, "Let me ask you something, Mick Jagger," and everybody knows, that this controversy had happened. He's like, "Where are these black girls? Can you let me know?" It's really funny. But Miss You, Whip Comes Down, Just My Imagination, the Smokey Robinson cover, and they had kicked around different covers at the time that they were going to do Give Me the Beat Boys and Free My Soul, I Want to Get Lost in Your Rock and Roll. I forget what that song's called, but that was a potential cover.
Interesting.
And instead they did Just My Imagination.
Yeah. I mean, all these songs are great. Beast of Burden's great. Fucking great songwriting.
Yeah.
I worked with this cat back in the late 80s. I worked at this health food store, and there was a cat there. He was actually a session guitar player, and he worked at the health food store part-time. He was getting his session guitar playing career off the ground. This black dude, and he was, played a lot of R&B stuff. And he was like, and I think Steel Wheels had just come out, and I was raving about the Stones, and he's like, I don't like the Stones. He's like, they only have one good song. I was like, really?
Oh my God.
What is it? Shattered. Shattered's a good song. It's like nothing else they did is any good. And I'm like,
oh
that's
my
just
God.
such an odd fucking track to pick as
Shattered.
It's a good song, but to say that's the only good song?
Yeah, get out of here. Shattered is a phenomenal tune. I will damn near shatter my windows singing that in my car.
Shadooby.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
To live in this town, you must be tough, 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 tough.
I sounded great just shit. Like him.
I know. Just like the bonus version of Some Girls, they do a great cover of Hank Williams' "You Win Again."
Yeah, I want to talk about Some Girls Part 2 because they've released a 2011. They released a bonus disc. It was all outtakes, and it's basically it's 12. It's a whole nother album. It's 12 songs they recorded during those sessions that basically has the same vibe as Some Girls. So really, like on my Rolling Stones playlist, Some Girls is now a double album. I consider those other songs. It's got Claudine, So Young.
I had some bootleg box sets that had Claudine and Don't Be a Stranger. And so when this came out, I was like, oh, because they were bootlegs. They were shitty, poppy, cracky versions. Yeah. And this is just pristine and a great original called When You're Gone that Mick and Keith and Ronnie Wood all co-wrote together.
Yeah, and, I totally actually thought Claudine was a cover. Sounds like an old rock and roll song.
I think Claudine is
not according to Wiki.
Huh.
I'm looking at the Wiki and it's saying all songs by Mick and Keith, unless otherwise noted, and it totally sounds like an old rock and roll song.
Yeah, it seems like Claudine, although
Claudine's back in town again. Claudine sounds like an old country rocker.
Yeah, but you got these old blues songs where they use the names like Claudine and stuff like that. Bo Diddley.
They may have ripped it off. Yeah.
But I thought that was an older tune.
I totally assumed that was a cover. Yeah. Anyways, it's just a lot of good stuff. The cover of Tallahassee Lassie.
This mimics the bonus stuff from Exile. Just solid. It makes you wonder.
It's solid, but it's more.
How many songs do they have sitting on a shelf?
Yeah. The bonus stuff from Exile is what, 6 songs or something? This is 12 fucking. This is a whole nother album. This is the second disc in the double album that is the now double album that is Some Girls. It's great and it's good shit. It's not weak at all.
Yeah, no, it's not throwaway shit. It's not like I don't know. Like I remember in the early 90s, Cream was getting back together for a reunion tour, and it was solely to pad out some money for Ginger Baker.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and, why the fuck I didn't just go see that? I don't know.
I don't know why either one of us did. I highly doubt they were in town and we just weren't there.
Oh no, I think they did like New York and LA and London. Yeah. But God damn, that was Cream.
Right?
Back together. What the fuck?
Yeah. So Some Girls, and then there's a live DVD, Blu-ray plus of the Some Girls tour, and it's awesome. It's them live in Texas, and it's worth checking out. The one thing the Stones do well are these concert releases. They're always good live, and they're a typical band that have so many good songs that you just want to hear all the stuff you wouldn't normally see, but you're gonna always hear, you can't always get what you want and jumping jack. You're gonna hear those staples.
We gotta talk about the fact that the legendary, mythical, amazing Leonard Skinner in their prime opened for the Stones on the Some Girls tour.
Yes, I was getting to that. So they're in Nebworth in England, and the stage is a giant tongue.
This is the story I wanted us to tell. Yeah, go ahead and tell it.
Charlie Watts comes to talk to Ronnie Van Zant, and he says, "Hey, listen, you guys can run all over the stage. We're giving you guys a good hour to play your songs. Only do not run down the tongue."
Yeah, he said there's this tongue that went out into the audience, and he said Mick doesn't want you to go out on the tongue. That's just for us, or that's just for him, basically,
Right.
And Ron, and now if you know anything about Ronnie Van Zant, the last thing, if you don't want him to do something, the last thing you do is tell him he can't do it.
Yeah,
because he's gonna. So he made sure that he went out on the tongue, and he's telling his bandmate, "Come on, let's get out there." And they went out. He went all the way out on the tongue.
Yeah, when they play Freebird during that performance, Van Zant grabs Alan Collins and Gary Rosington and takes them by the arms and
drags
ushers
them out
down the tongue during that solo performance. And one other thing about Ronnie Van Zant, he would drink and just get very unpredictable. At one point, he did something where he smashed a bottle against Gary Rosington's hands while he's playing guitar. So, there were moments, but a good story to get off topic, like we never do that.
Of course. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention Kiss, since we haven't mentioned Kiss
yet.
Kiss.
We're getting to that, but no, Ronnie Van Zant would be being interviewed by a magazine reporter, and as usual, some of these reporters would just ask the dumbest questions. And when Ronnie Van Zant would get irritated, he'd go, I got a question for you. How are you going to get out of this room without getting smacked around? He would just say, how far do you think you're going to get to that door over there before I punch you in the head? He would make these comments, and it's just very funny to me.
Well, that's because it's all these fucking big redneck Florida boys in there, fucking drunk as fuck, and this reporter thinks he's one of the gang, and at one point, Ronnie just look at him. I got a question for you. How do you think you're going to get out of here?
Yeah. But I think that was stemmed on just like asking really asinine questions.
Yeah. Don't ask me no questions, and I won't tell you no lies.
That's it. So Some Girls, huge record. They did Saturday Night Live, great version of Miss You on there. And then so they tour for 2 years. At this point, Mick's going through a horrific divorce, really nasty divorce, all on the news and shit. Bianca Jagger, and he had written some songs on Some Girls about her, Lies, and but Emotional Rescue is really coming off of that. tumultuous time with this divorce and shit. And at this point, Mick is like 35. He's still really young. But I remember even in 1980 seeing people ask the Stones, "Is this your last album? Is this your last tour?" And that just, it had to get old, here and there, constantly. But I will say, Emotional Rescue was.
Oh, the Snags and Silky spokesperson is here to give you the pitch.
El Condor.
Snagsandsilky.com.
We got Funko Pops, we got Legos, we got action figures, we got everything, including nuclear bombs.
All right.
So if you're in the cartel and are trying to get in touch with a couple of missiles,
snagsandsilky.com.
Snagsandsilky.com.
Yeah.
Now somehow we're going to end up
I know.
in trouble for this little bastard.
So that was satire, people. Come on now.
El Condor blowing in, and he's right back out.
There you go.
But yeah, Emotional Rescue. I remember being in Atlanta in 1980 that summer, and my dad had the new Stones record. I think this was their 15th record, which is crazy. It was only 15 by this point, but they were on really another wave of back-to-back classic 5-star records.
Oh, yeah. Dance, you got another kind of disco funk-inspired tune at the beginning. Summer Romance is good. Send It to Me is good. Let Me Go. Indian Girl is a really nice ballad.
Yeah, I dig that one. Good piano in there.
Where the Boys Go, Down in the Hole, Emotional Rescue, She's So Cold, All About You. It's not
She's So Cold is fucking epic. I love that song.
Yeah, it's not as strong, I think, as Some Girls, but it's good. It's a good, solid album,
Yeah, I run the one after this one, and Some Girls, very similar to how I listen to Beggars, Let It Bleed, and Sticky Fingers. They're just one fucking giant.
There was a period where I had Black and Blue, Some Girls, Emotional Rescue, and Tattoo You in my CD. Back in the day, kids, we had these CD changers in our cars where you could load up
10 discs in there and just roll.
Yeah. But I just had those 4, and I just had them on repeat. And it was just like, and I think it was the summertime, and you just driving around, and it was just this nice mellow shit kicker vibe you get from those albums,
Yeah.
The Suckin' in the 70s albums. Good shit.
Yeah, and Suckin' in the 70s is a collection, but there were some B-sides and extended mixes and things. Dance Part 2 is on Suckin' in the 70s. Everything's Turning to Gold is a great fucking track.
That's a good tune. Yeah,
same
vibe.
Fucking track.
Got that mellow 70s Stones vibe.
Yeah, and those were all 12-inch single B-side things. Very dancey. It was that time. The R&B was really raised. It's debatable. Is it funk? Is it disco? Barry White was huge at that point. Yeah. And I think the Stones partying in New York and going to Studio 54, they're just caught up in that R&B funk, dancey type shit. So,
and they did it. They did it well. They made that shit.
They really did, because Keith always bitches that they were a blues band and that's what they should have stuck to. And I can't yell at that at all.
It's that creative tension is what made them good. Keith could never have written amazing lyrics like Sympathy for the Devil. He couldn't. Right. It's like Mick Jagger has this cultured side that it brings in these flashes of brilliance, and then Keith brings in the blues. You know what I mean? And that combination is what makes them amazing. You take away Keith and you get Let's Work. You know,
right.
you take away Mick and you get Keith's solo albums, which I would rather listen to than Let's Work any day. But it's not as brilliant as when they're working together. You know?
Yeah, I would have liked Keith's solo stuff to just be slightly better.
It's good stuff, though.
That first record is great.
His solo albums, and he did another solo album pretty recently, not too long ago.
He's got 3 so far.
Yeah, and it's all. I got a Keith playlist, and I listen to it every now and then. It's good shit kicking, solid rock and roll. You know.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sucking in the 70s, and we covered what is exclusive to that. Everything's Turning to Gold. Everything else is from specific albums. And If I Was a Dancer Part 2. But just Sucking in the 70s. My mother had this record, and I loved that it was just a black 7 and the 0. But it also, if you look at it the right way, it's the tongue. You know, it's the Stones' tongue. But yeah, that was a mix of hit songs, remixes, alternate takes, and B-sides and live recordings. Just a fun thing that they would do, these random compilation records. Made in the Shade from 75 is a great just cross-section of good hits. And they were able to get away with it. Like, you were a Stones fan and you just bought it because, hey, this is great. This is before playlist, kids. So people would just buy these things, even though they had the other records. So here's Tattoo You. This was their 16th record.
Also produced by the Glimmer Twins. Yeah,
and this had songs, mostly studio outtakes from the 70s. So I'm not sure if things were, they were always those 5 brothers, very similar to how Aerosmith was constantly fighting. The Stones had their ups and downs, and you just wonder when, much like Van Halen's Diver Down album, where they just raid the vaults and give you a new album, and it's not really new.
Well, this is a solid fucking album. I think it's stronger than Emotional Rescue myself. I think,
this underlines how fucking incredible the Stones are when they are able to go all the way back to something from 70 or 71 and touch it up, and it becomes Start Me Up, which Jesus Christ.
Which was their biggest hit since Satisfaction. You know, I mean, it was a big fucking hit. It's still played on the radio today.
You can probably hear Start Me Up every single day on the radio somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So
and it's up there with Some Girls, I think, as far as just solid. All these songs are great. Hang Fire, Slave, Keith Richards singing a little TNA.
This is a kick-ass upbeat record versus where Emotional Rescue was. Like I said, Mick was coming out of a nasty divorce, and I think in a way, Emotional Rescue kind of mirrors that. Whereas this is like very Start Me Up sets it off, and the whole album is very upbeat.
Yeah,
similar to Some Girls.
Yeah, Neighbors, Worried About You, Tops, Heaven, No Use in Crying, Waiting on a Friend. It's just good, solid songwriting. Then 2021, they release a bonus disc, 9 more songs. And including that cover that you were talking about, Drift Away.
Drift Away. As I was describing it, I'm like, I know I have that as a good recording. There it is.
Yeah, and there it is. Yeah. So Jimmy Reed, Shame, Shame, Shame. Good cover there.
Yeah, that's good. Drift Away. What's cool too is in 21, they so Still Life was always, to me, a very piss poor representation of a larger movie that had come out at the time, the Stones, in a stadium. And Still Life was just real short, just a short, quick live album. Well, this is that full show from Wembley Stadium. So you get to hear everything they did. It was great.
They did
like 26 songs.
I don't think that is on Spotify. I don't think that live album is on Spotify. Is it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It would be the extended version of Tattoo You. I think it is. But
Still Life. Interesting.
I'm not sure.
Because I got a live Stones playlist. I got to find it and put it on there if it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, that's classic. That's a great fucking track listing there.
Yeah. Neighbors, Black Limousine. You're just not going to hear this stuff much anymore.
So this is Still Life, Wembley Stadium 1982, and it was a bonus disc on the Super Deluxe edition of Tattoo You in 2021.
Yeah. So because if you look, the next thing chronologically, Still Life was, from that, and it's only 12 things, and really 10 because there's an outro and an intro.
Right.
So, it's great to hear the full concert. That's huge to me. But then, so again, early 80s, the Stones were just really reliving their initial exit from the 60s with back-to-back solid must-hear albums.
It was more late 70s, and then they cap it off with Tattoo You. But and then I think the last two just really classic Stones songs they recorded were Undercover of the Night, which is one of their best funk jams ever. And that's straight up funk. That is not disco. That is funk rock. It's amazing. And then She Was Hot, which is good mid-level Stones song, but that's a single. You still hear that on the radio every now and then.
That's Mick Jagger all the way. I liked Want to Hold You off of there. Too Much Blood was great.
Too Much Blood's a good song,
It Must Be Hell is a great tune. Living in a World, Sucking in a World Like You. Mick was always good at the insults.
Yeah. I don't think this is a solid classic Stones album, though. I think this is where you get into where there's some good songs on it, but the whole album doesn't hold together, in my opinion, as like the rest of their catalog.
I remember each of these coming out and just, you were just caught up in it. And so each of these songs, takes me back. I play Undercover start to finish. And I like it. I get what you're saying, though. There is definitely a moment with Tattoo You.
Yeah, Tattoo You, I think, is the last just solid all the way through album. There's just some weak shit on here. Tie You Up isn't that great. I mean, it's just...
Well, but you look at other albums from 83, shit, this is a great record.
I mean, we're talking about the Stones here. We hold them to a higher standard than
what's funny is you
look at Midnight Runners.
This has a phenomenal album cover. Just this naked lady, burlesque dancer, and they cover her with these stickers. And my mom had this record, and I was 12 years old. I had to peel the stickers off to see if there was anything behind,
Was there? Did they got tits?
Oh, no, man. I got in trouble because I fucked her record up, peeling the stickers off. And I played it off like, I wanted to put the stickers on my notebook. And, I was really trying to see if her tits were under there. So,
so the one interesting story about this album is the music video they were looking for ideas for the music video, and Julian Temple, who was kind of a punk rock filmmaker, he was like, they're never going to do it. Julian Temple did the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, the Sex Pistols documentary, UK Subs documentary. So he came from a punk background and heard that the Stones were looking for ideas for Undercover, and he's like, they're never going to do this, but fuck it, man. I'm gonna submit this crazy ass fucking idea just to fuck with him. And it was like, some dude gets kidnapped and the Stones jump in with machine guns, and this violent, crazy video. And of course, Keith Richards was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, we're doing this." And so it's a great video.
Well, Julian Temple would get with Bill Wyman and Mick Jagger in '84, and this was a huge. Everybody wanted to have this video rewind, and it was like a concept where they wrap little vignettes with Bill Wyman and Mick Jagger, and then they string together footage and videos when MTV was all the rage. And so you get like Midnight Rambler from Cocksucker Blues, and the videos for She Was Hot, She's So Cold, Emotional Rescue, Waiting on a Friend. And so this was pretty cool. You had some stuff that you couldn't get anywhere.
The Undercover video was considered too violent for MTV, so they had to finally MTV, because there's people getting blown away and shit, and finally the compromise was the Stones edited the video, and MTV would only show it after 9 p.m. The edited version.
Interesting. There's a version 2 of Undercover on that video rewind.
There's an unedited video rewind, has the unedited version that MTV wouldn't show you.
But that, I remember Video Rewind was awesome. I had the and again, like I said, these greatest hits would come out. You had everything, but you're like, fuck, I gotta have that too. I don't think a lot of bands could do that.
Yeah.
And then so that was really the heyday. For me, the Stones were still, I guess, riding that wave. Dirty Work in '86. At this point, Dirty Work, it was everyone was really aware of the bitterness that would go back and forth between Mick and Keith. I remember they had a lead-off single where they cover Harlem Shuffle, and I hated it, which employed.
Are we gonna go through all of their albums?
No, just a couple. There's not much more.
All right, go ahead.
The Harlem Shuffle, they did some of the animation, and AC/DC Fly on the Wall had used the same animator, and that was kind of a big thing. And AC/DC had a great Fly on the Wall VHS. This is when the VHS, these bands would put out these little video things, and us as kids mowing lawns to buy our music collections, you would run out and get that new VHS tape, and it would be like 20 minutes long. There was a lot of bullshit releases that you thought, oh my God, this is going to be great.
What was that? What was that?
Videos and
what was that Kiss one from Animalized era?
Animalized live tour.
No, there was one that was like them hanging out with models and shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that called?
Uncensored.
Yeah, something
Uncensored or something, and they got a monkey with Eric Carr. And
Eric Carr's hanging out with a monkey, and Paul Stanley's in bed with like 20 models.
They're going to the beach, like leaving the mansion, so Gene and Paul can take the camera crew around. Yeah.
They basically have Bruce Kulick and Eric car in this thing for 5 minutes at the beginning, taking a monkey.
Oh, we're leaving. We're going to the beach with this monkey.
Okay. We're taking the monkey to the beach. Kiss Exposed. That's what it was called.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it was the era, though. All these VHS releases that you just had to have. And when you got it home, it was never an hour and a half long, like you'd hoped, or, thinking specifically like the Shake Your Foundations and Fly on the Wall, the AC/DC, they strung together all this animated fly buzzing around and, like 2 videos and really nothing, very similar to what the Stones were doing. So everybody was popping these little things out. Motley Crue had an uncensored thing, and uncensored to us, we thought we were going to see titties, and it wasn't really ever.
It was bait and switch. Yeah, it was just marketing.
Yeah. But Dirty Work is when the Stones were really considering they had Jimmy Page play on like One Hit to the Body or something like that. I forget now. I've Jimmy Page. It does say he was on here. I'm not sure what song, but like we said, Riding the Wave. There was some good tracks on here. Too Rude was awesome. But I get what you're saying, though. You do see again, Riding the Wave, and then Steel Wheels, I think, was a last. This was a huge tour. Everybody went and saw this. They had
that was the first time you and I saw the Stones.
Yeah,
and they played at Georgia Tech Stadium, and you and I went down there. Living Color opened, and of course, Guns N' Roses opened every other show on that tour, but we had to see Living Color. And then, and when they came on, you and I went fucking berserk. We were just jumping up and down going, oh my God. Oh my God. And I remember this dude, this middle-aged, we were like 19. I remember this middle-aged dude next to us is looking at us like, these dudes are out of their fucking minds.
But they had this just wall of scaffolding behind the stage, all this steel stuff. I played this record every day for a year, easily.
Oh, so did I. I was like, it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah. Like you said, but it's dated in a lot of ways.
It sounds kind of keyboardy, have that overproduced drum sound from the 80s.
I would say Mixed Emotions and Rockin' a Hard Place on this one. But so that's what we're getting at is they're riding the wave. There's still some solid tracks. But it just the cracks start to appear a little bit. But
Jimmy Page played lead guitar on One Hit to the Body. I just looked at it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so the to me though, where it starts to, like, I liked Voodoo Lounge a lot. You Got Me Rockin', I Go Wild, but those are more, I would almost say, as we're talking and I'm looking at this and hearing the songs in my head, those are almost mixed solo songs. In a lot.
I mean, they're Stone songs. They're just, to their credit, they didn't do an Aerosmith and just start recording a bunch of pop garbage. It's still the Stones trying to be the Stones till this day, up through Hackney Diamonds, which is a good album, a fun. I listen to all this shit every now and then. I'll put one of these on.
It's but like good album. You Got Me Rockin' on Voodoo Lounge. That's solid as shit. I dig the shit out of that. But what's funny though is you
won't find any Love in an Elevator on any of these albums.
Yeah, no.
But it's just not the same quality. You can't keep dropping these classic albums forever. It's just impossible.
This makes them human. In '95 they did Stripped, which they really kind of reworked a lot of their older tracks, and everybody was doing.
Stripped was their Unplugged.
Yeah, everyone was doing unplugged things, and there was some great them kind of going back. They redo Not Fade Away, Street Fighting Man, and they're touring, so they're all over the place. But it allowed them to do Dead Flowers live. I think things they just had not thought about, like, oh, we're not going to get away with being able to do this. And they did Black Limousine all down the line. A lot of really good deeper cut Stones tracks. And then to me, their last solid record was Bridges to Babylon. And I love this. Has Out of Control, which is one of my favorite Stones songs. And so in a way, I'm picking like 3 or 4 tracks from each of these records post Tattoo You. So I mean, I'm giving Snags a lot of credit, which I don't normally like to do. But I get it. I get what he's saying. Because it's not as solid. It's not
just kicking the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing you said at the end of the last episode. It's the ride the wave thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I don't know how I came up with that, but every single band you can think of, they have these just, they might do 5 or 6 albums in a row. If you can pull that off, you're set.
Yeah.
You're fucking set. You're always going to come up with some new songs here and there, but you've got all these other other solid tracks to play off of. But I liked Bridges to Babylon. I remember in '97 I was still playing the new Stones album. That's what I'm getting at. It was like, oh, this, and you played the shit out of it.
Every time there's a new Stones album, I always play it.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, but like once or twice, but then they did just a series of live things. Again, Riding the Wave, 40 licks. They got 4 new tracks. There was the 4 Don't Stop was decent. They had, I think there were 4 tracks on that one that were new, and the rest of it was another greatest hit thing. And then they do live licks, yet another live album. And Bigger Bang, I got it, played it once. I can't tell you anything off of it. I remember Rain Fall Down, but it just did not. And they'd gone 8 years in between those records, and I don't know, this just did not grab me ever. I ought to go back and give it a re-listen, but Bigger Bang I just never got it. The reason I've continued after where we were going to cut off is Blue and Lonesome.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Their 23rd studio album, and it's the Stones covering just these massive blues staples that are the reason that they, ever even started.
Well, the story behind that one is they were getting ready to do another album of originals, and to warm up, they started recording these old blues songs, and then they just got on a tear with it, and they were like, fuck it, let's just do a whole album of blues covers, and that's really, really fucking good. That's a great album.
Yeah, it's very solid. There was a blues collection that was curated by the Stones after this, and I snatched that fucker up. And one thing about Ronnie Wood, he's a bass player, he's a slide guitarist, he's done solo records, he's guested on all these different things, but he when he's not touring, he delves in portraits, and
he's a painter. Yeah,
he does a lot of pencil. He did the cover for Eric Clapton's Crossroads box set, but he did the cover for this blues collection by the Rolling Stones, and it's all original versions of these these blues cats. And if you can track that down, it's just epic. It's really good collection. And because they're the Stones, they give you some obscure blues tunes on there. It's kind of hard to track down, but it's great to have that. So, but yeah, that was where I wanted to get to was that Blue and Lonesome, and then Hackney Diamonds. We actually talked about that whole album before. But I would just tell people to check out Blue and Lonesome and that Live at El Macambo. Obviously the Ronnie Wood years up to Tattoo You for sure.
Are you gonna do a Ronnie Wood playlist? Ronnie Wood years?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw. Well, so there's what I thought about doing is there's a playlist I did called Stoned, which covers everything, and I can resend that to you, and I think that would be solid enough.
Well, just
unless you'd rather a Ronnie Wood only.
Well, I mean that's what we did with the other one, right?
Yeah.
So just take the Ronnie Wood section
to Tattoo You.
Yeah, just take that section out of Stoned, and then throw in some of your favorites from some of these other albums that you were talking about.
Yeah, that El Macambo, it's just that good. It's
that one that is not on Spotify. I looked for it.
It's not. Oh no. Man.
But I wish
that was on there because I was definitely going to include that.
Do Black and Blue through Tattoo You, She Was Hot, Undercover, and then throw in some of these others from the later albums that you were talking about, since it's the Ronnie Wood era,
Yeah. All right. Well, that's episode 100, kids.
There you go, the 100th episode. So
that's quite
if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it. Did it happen? I don't know, but
did it happen? Yeah,
the 100th episode happened and 12 people heard it. So there you go.
Yeah, and we're big in Slovakia still. So
yeah, we're huge in Perth, Australia for some reason.
Anyway, that's a wrap, kids.
That's a wrap. That's it. Peace out.
Deuces.